Hi, I'm Joe Silva. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching. I own Ideal Payroll Service in Omaha. I also host the Ideal Small Biz podcast, and we talk all things small business. Our passion, our love is small business and making businesses successful. So in order to do that, there's a lot of moving parts, right? You've got sales, you've got marketing, you've got operations, and of course you have hiring, and that's what we're talking about today. We have Mike Zeigle from Careerlink, which is a major career platform for both employees and businesses looking to hire employers. So Mike's got tons of experience, years of experience at CareerLink, and he shares with us some really valuable advice on what the market is like out there, how to differentiate yourself so you can hire talent. So whether it's your first employee, maybe it's your 10th employee, maybe it's your 100th employee, you can always learn something on how to do this, right? So it's very critical that we hire the right people and get them in the right positions. That's what we talk with Mike about here today. So without further ado, we'll get right to it right now. Hi there, I'm Joe Silva. I own Ideal Payroll Service. I also host the Ideal Small Biz podcast. And small business drives us all, right? It drives the economy and it provides jobs for millions and millions of people across the country. It's so important, so vital in the lives of many, many people. And that's both owners and employees and all of that. And we're going to dive into a lot of that today because we are joined by Mike Zeigle of CareerLink. Mike, thanks for being on the show today.
My pleasure. Always glad to be part of your programs.
Well, thank you. You've been a supporter of the show for quite a while, so that's much appreciated. But maybe give the listeners who are unfamiliar with you maybe a little of your background, what you do at CareerLink, and how you help businesses and employees.
True. I'm probably one of the second oldest on the team. I've been on the CareerLink platform since 2009. So I've been doing this for quite a bit of time. I've held titles of sales, account management, director, senior director, officer, everything in between within the platform. But I've always come back to what I like best, and that is the engagement. That is working with that company. It's becoming part of that company. You know, I always tell everybody, I've always viewed myself as a partner to the individuals I work with. You know, they're not really clients. I want to know what they do, how they do it, what makes them special, what makes them unique, so that I can have that same passion that they do. So that's what I've enjoyed. And you know what? Out of the thousands and thousands of companies I've been able to deal with, there's been a very small amount that I did not like, and it was difficult to do business with. So, you know, I always tell everybody, if you want a partner, I believe the partner has to be part of your organization and part of theirs. You know, the old adage, it's got to be a win-win, is sometimes overused. But if I don't think it's right for a business, I'm not going to recommend it for that business no matter what. So, you know what? There are times I've had to walk away because we aren't the right choice. I would rather walk away and know that I did the right thing for them than not. And the good thing is, you know what? I think people are smart enough to know when somebody is being honest and straightforward with you. So I've always had that to be probably the best setup. So over the years, you know, my job has always been, whether it was fully with AIM, we've since diversed from AIM, we're now a separate entity, has always been to work with businesses to help them connect with talent wherever, whenever they needed it on the CareerLink platform. And that has been probably my joy, passion, love. You know, sometimes it's 7 days a week. Sometimes it's not. But I mean, I do it because, you know, it makes you feel good.
That's awesome.
So, you know, at the end of the day, I've had the pleasure of dealing with folks that have one employee to 32,000 employees and everything in between.
Wow.
So, you know, one of the key things, and your demographics is perfect size-wise for a lot of what we do. Over the years, there's always been that distinction of small business, mid-size, large business. It's
right.
Hard to compete. You know what? I always tell the business owners this. All you need to do is level that playing field so people have the choice between businesses.
Yeah.
So tell them your story. How many times have you seen, businesses advertise and you really don't know what the story is? What makes them special? What makes them unique? To me, that's the exciting part. But I always tell folks, if you're looking to and you want to hire, make sure you know what you want first.
Right.
If you don't know what you want, nobody else is going to be able to connect with you. And so start with that. Simple, straightforward, here's the job title, description, here's what you need, here's how to get a hold of me. And also remember this too. They're going to want to know who you are, a little bit about you. Years ago, people didn't think that was important. The culture, um, the environment, things along that line. That's becoming more and more important to the younger group of individuals. That is, people younger than me. You know what?
Right. Younger than a lot of us, but yeah, those are the up and coming people for sure.
So I mean, it's one of those things that no matter what that employer does, I always say, make sure that you tell your story. Let them know who you are, where you are, what, why, why is that company so special to you? People always have made comments to me, how long have you owned Careerlink? I have never ever owned Careerlink, but that's the way I look at it. So I always tell everybody, that's what I want to feel from you. That kind of setup, let them know, let them connect, and that's what I like best.
Yeah.
You get to know some great people. It's amazing what's in our own backyard, and sometimes we don't even know it.
Right. Lot. I mean, you've got a lot of experience, Mike, and it sounds like you run the gamut at Careerlink, and some great advice there as far as telling your story. Oftentimes I think small businesses, whether they're a startup business brand new, or if they've been in business for a while, they still might not even know what their own story is. So we have to develop that in order to
Good
share
point.
that, number one. And then once
Yeah.
you have that, what do you see out there, especially in these times? These are interesting times with high unemployment right now due to COVID when we're recording this. What do you see from what do employers need to do? Let's say they're a small business. You mentioned the one person shop earlier. Let's say they're
Mhm.
a handful of employees or maybe zero, and they're hiring their first employee. How can you separate yourself to find the talent out there that you need that's not just a warm body? Because the old way of doing it that you described is putting a job post on a job board with
Yep.
here's the number of hours you work and that's it, and very minimal. But you're saying tell a story a little more. So maybe dive into that. How can we separate
Sure.
ourselves when we're posting for looking for talent out there?
And part of it is a lot of times what happens is, people starting up a business, a smaller business, don't have the elaborate website. Okay. Maybe they don't even have a website. That's okay. There are places such as CareerLink. There are other aspects too, other folks that will let you have a place to tell your story and to connect. So, first and foremost, if you don't have a website, there's not some place for people to learn a little bit about you. I would seek out a platform or some other organization that could help you with some kind of landing page so that you can tell your story. That's probably the first and foremost key to it.
Nice. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
You've got to have a home base on the web where people can see that. Once you've got that story in place, Mike, what do you see from a candidate standpoint? Are people still, are they looking for work? You hear the stories out there. Well, unemployment's paying so much that they don't even want to work, right? Can
yes,
us as business owners, can we find qualified talent in these times right now?
yes, and yes. How's that for the politically correct?
Right.
There's a high loss, and this is the part that sometimes really hurts. There's a high loss, as you know, with the hospitality industry. Um, a lot of these folks are dang good people, and they've been dispersed. Um, is there an opportunity to hire those individuals back? Yes. Where you run into the dilemma is this: a lot of your hospitality, restaurant, things along that line, they're going to work more than one job. So, I always tell every business owners, think of this. So you had 15 or 20 part-time employees. Can you change that to 5 or 6 full-time? Can you restructure certain things so that you can bring them back? So yes, are there individuals looking for that kind of work? Yes. And that demographic, sometimes that 16 to 18 year old is another aspect for them to reach out to. So is there opportunity for businesses to hire? Yes. We've seen more and more individuals engage with us and on the Careerlink platform for positions. However, the competition is tight. It really is. We're seeing a lot of your big box stores jumping minimum wage to $15. Walmart announced that. Hobby Lobby is about ready to do that effective here. I want to say the 24th of October. So there's some competition out there, but there are great people. And I always tell everybody this: if and when somebody connects with you, whether it's via phone, email, text, don't sit on it. Engage that individual right away. We figure right now, depending on the position, depending on what you're looking to fill, you could have less than 20 minutes to engage that individual before they're lost forever. And I don't know about you, if the opportunities are few and far between, and you're trying to connect with that unbelievable person, don't wait. And I'll use my kids as an example. I love them dearly, but God darn it, they will not pick that phone up to answer when I call. But I can text and text and text, and boom, 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 and they're flying back. I just had a conversation with an owner of a franchise of Wendy's outside of Georgia, Alpharetta. And they are working with a text to set an appointment to come in for an interview. They're just sort of playing around with that, and we're starting to play around with that, folks, with some of our folks too. Are you willing to do that and communicate that way? So, at the end of the day, the people are looking. We just need to match the audience better.
Yeah. It's about getting creative, right? With in anything in business, a lot, whether you're talking marketing, whether you're talking internal procedures, or hiring and recruiting and finding talent, you've got to get creative. And especially during these times when, talent is at a premium, you've got to do things, like you said, quickly. You got to strike quickly rather than just kind of sitting on it. What are some other things that you see employers doing, Mike, to differentiate themselves? You mentioned tell their story, but okay, we've got somebody engaged. That person is interested in our position. They approach us. What do you do next? Is it simply a matter of offering, a lot of businesses can't offer those high wages. What else can we do to attract talent that way?
And that really then becomes that sales job of that owner of that business to say, look, you know what, at the end of the day, you're going to be Joe. You're not going to be 27843. I'm not going to care that your son, by the way, loves to come in and be part of what you're doing. It sort of changes the dynamics just a little bit. Yes, that entity, and there's an outfit in Kansas City, Amazon, perfect example. They pay high wages. Amazon's not going to say, oh my God, Joe, your kid's going to put a soccer game coming up. Oh, that's at 2:00 in the afternoon. Sorry. You know what? You're going to have to miss that. What we're going to do is we're going to say, oh my God, go to the soccer game. Have fun.
Right.
Really don't miss that opportunity with the family. So it becomes that balance between work and personal, because at the end of the day, you're going to be happier. And I think the employer will be. So, so when I talk about, telling the story, it's that culture. It's what makes you unique and special. Because at the end of the day, I'll guarantee you, AIM and Careerlink probably could have paid me a heck of a lot more money And a lot of other folks could have been made a lot more money, paid wise, whatever. But it was that mission, the belief that we were doing something different. You have that built-in passion. So yeah, is it a tougher sell? Oh, absolutely. You know what? I mean, shoot, I've been on the other end. Somebody wants X dollars and I can't pay them X dollars. You're going to have to walk away, and maybe that's just not the right person.
Right. That's the key right there, Mike, is this is exactly like we talk a lot about selling to the right people that want your product and that believe in, okay, I want to work with a small business versus the big ones from a sales standpoint. It's no different when hiring, right? You want the employees that understand and appreciate the benefits of a small business that, again, that soccer game at 2:00 or, I got a flat tire. Can I come in a little bit late to go get my, that chip, whatever it is,
Yeah.
you're not getting written up with demerits and, and some system, you're not in the sales, your line of, number XYZ 1, 2, 3, 4. We use that in our sales process all the time, with our customers that we bring on. It's the same with employees. You're not 1, 2, 3, 4, you're Sally or John or whatever it is. So that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up as far as you've got to sell yourself to your candidates, especially now as well.
Yeah, and it's funny how that's changed. And I mean, the market, the economy, and everything else changed. 2009, when the world ended financially, things were a little bit different. That we went through the next cycle, but at the end of the day, I think we keep the good stuff and we're throwing away the bad stuff. So I mean, you talk about selling yourself. There are times, I like the fact I work for a small business, because the individual above me, I can call on the cell phone and say, Phil, here's what I've got. Here's what I'm looking at. How can we help? So we were on here's another aspect for small businesses. We were on a call with an entity here, and they made a wonderful suggestion. And we're like, perfect. How would you do that? So they literally said, well, I think you should do X, Y, and Z. We sent a little text via the phone to our CEO. He sent a little thing back within about 2 or 3 minutes and said, you know what, tell him, absolute great idea. We'll be pushing that out and the changes next week.
Speed of implementation, right? It's
exactly.
You don't have to turn the battleship. You're very quick and nimble as a small business, right?
And it is one of those things. Every business, no matter the size, had to start somewhere. So I mean, people have the opportunity to choose where they want to make that difference, where they want to make that start. So yeah, it's exciting. If I had my druthers, I always like just to deal with folks that have that passion and have that excitement.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's part of being in the small business community. And, again, we talk, it raises everybody up, right? When one business helps another and we support that small business mentality, it makes everybody, feeds families, it supports the economy, it's everything, which is so
my
important.
Gosh, between the softball, I mean, you look at what the small business does, and most of my family we're all small business, five and dime shops, little cheese factories, and everything else in between. But it was always, you'd go to the local hardware store to sponsor your team. When I played baseball many years ago, it was the family restaurant in the city that sponsored it.
Yep.
So I appreciate what you do for folks, and I do appreciate what the small business does, because there's a good number of these businesses that are not going to be 4 or 5 people very much longer.
Right.
Look at what has happened in Omaha with some of the companies that have started with the startup collaborative. Some of these other little, very, very small startups now are huge. For instance, Builder Trend, we'll give them a shout out. I remember when they were 17 people. Now they're just a tick under 400.
Yeah, they skyrocketed. That's amazing.
And that has not been that long.
Right.
So, it's one of those things that I guess to really pin it down, can a business hire people in this time? Yes, they can. We just have to get creative, do things a little different via Zoom, be willing to go outside your comfort zone. I'm not a big fan of texting. However, I have clients now texting me. That's
Yeah.
fine. Outside the comfort zone.
It's the way of the world, right? You got to advance
Yeah.
with it. Mike, what's one thing, if somebody's watching this and they're a business and they've had bad experience hiring in the past, right? Maybe they can't find their employees and they think there's no good employees out there. What's one thing you would tell that person when looking for their next hire?
Take a deep breath. It is a sales game. What can you do different? Do you need some help? We're always willing to help. We're not the answer. Careerlink's not the answer for everybody. I wish we were, but it's not always that. But we're always willing to say, this is what has occurred, and this is what we've seen companies doing. Have you tried this? You know what? And at the end of the day, it's a small world. You know what? Somebody's helped me many a times throughout my life. So I always tell everybody, seek out individuals that you believe are smarter than you are, because I do that every day, because we've got a tremendous amount of intelligent people around here, and seek out counsel from them. How have you done this? What have you used? And if they just want to throw ideas, you'd be surprised the number of people that will send me emails, call me up and say, hey, I'm looking for this. Do you think it's reasonable at this? And a lot of times I'll say, no, you need to go a little bit higher or do something a little different, or maybe a different direction.
Right.
So yes, your best bet, like a lot of folks do for you, reach out, ask. You know what? If we can help, great. If we can't, hopefully we both point them in the right direction, where to somebody that might be able to help them.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, right? So bring those people into your network and ask them what they're doing. Find those successful people that have hired well. Find those people that went from 17 to 400 employees in your network,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we're all networked on Facebook, LinkedIn, social, all this stuff. We have the resources. So I love what you're saying is reach out to those people that have done it, learn what they did, and then apply it. Because if they've done it, then you can do it. It's been done before. This isn't, we're not reinventing something brand new here. This hiring has been done. You've seen it 1,000 times or more, probably, throughout the years, Mike. But yeah, I love that advice as far as reaching out to others that have been successful at that and find out what they're doing.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, here's the thing: we don't need to recreate the wheel. We just need to modify, adjust it, make sure it works for that company, for that employer, for that person. So there's no reason just to totally scrap everything.
Exactly.
You just have to make sure it's customized for you.
Yeah, right. Find the right size tire, right? Find the right the rims or whatever you want to call on it, and customized for that particular business. That's exactly what you do. Mike, as we wrap up, tell us about CareerLink. So if somebody's watching this and they want to know more information on how you can help them, what is it specifically that they can get from you, and the best way to reach out to you?
Cool. They can call me direct at 402-243-6329, or email questions, anything whatsoever, M, Z as in zebra, EIGLE at careerlink.com. And if nothing else, I always tell everybody, check out the website. It is Careerlink, CareerLink.com. Great place to connect with employees, great place to connect with jobs. And here's the one thing to always remember. This site is very personal to me. It is the only site I have my resume on. It's the only site that I have my resume on with my home address, my home phone number, and everything on. Okay. My resume is also on a Word document. Okay. So I give you my commitment that the vast majority of these 2 of us here have spoken with, broken bread with, been on site to these employers. So this is personal to us. both both the companies and the job seekers get the same level of respect. We're a small group, so everything that is done, everybody knows, and it's very personal to us. Whether you're a job seeker, whether you're just curious, or you know what, maybe you just want to see other people and how they wrote a job description, feel free. Just make sure you change the name of the company if you've used one that's on
That's
there.
step number one right there, right? Override that. But yeah, that's great. So anybody watching this or listening to this, whether you're looking for a job or maybe you're a business that is looking for employees, either way, or maybe you know somebody that needs a new position or is looking for employees, direct them to Careerlink,
Thank
direct
you.
them to Mike. He's a great resource, has been very helpful in the community and everything you do, Mike. So appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate you sharing your knowledge and insight. And thanks again for everything you do.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Mike, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your experience with us. You bring years of experience, and we can really pull out, whether you're hiring your first employee, your 10th, or your 100th employee, we can really pull out some valuable information as to what you shared there. So thank you so much for being on the show and bringing that to us. Now, if you can get the right people hired, get them in the right positions at the right time, you can grow your business exponentially. And that's exactly what Mike went over in his interview today. Once you hire them, now you got to get them paid, right? So if you need help getting them paid, that's what Ideal Payroll Service does. Contact Ideal Payroll Service, 402-614-3028. Once you hire, then get them paid. We can help you with getting them paid on the payroll side. So reach out to us. Happy to help at Ideal Payroll Service. I want to thank Mike again for being on the show. Thank you for you, the listener and the viewer, for watching. We appreciate your support. And as always, let's go out and support local and support each other.